it's almost rare to see someone who is a business leader and a family leader at the same time. You mostly see success come at the expense of family, or you see dreams die at the commitment to family. High-level entrepreneurs that get success seem to sacrifice their family at the expense of that success. But here's the deal. It doesn't have to be that way. It's hard, but it doesn't have to be that way. And as someone who's very driven, and as someone who maybe hopefully you are a very driven person, right? Someone with big ambitions, you likely struggle to balance your mission and your business with your family. Or maybe you're thinking about having a family and you're not sure how that would work. Most tend to swing from one extreme to the other, right? So most tend to neglect their family or neglect their purpose. I believe it is your duty to do both at an excellent level. You cannot neglect your family and neglect your kids and not feed into them and not lead them. That is not an option. And it's also not an option to neglect your calling and to neglect your mission and to neglect all the things that you desire to do and why, and if you're a spiritual person, like what I believe, why you're put on the earth here. There truly is a tension between your business and your callings, or whatever that may be, the things that you're pursuing, and your family. There is a tension between those ambitions and your relationships. They are somewhat working against each other. And the key is actually figuring out how to align them to work together. I want to share 7 things that I've learned from leading multiple businesses and also being a family leader, being a father and a husband. The first thing is vision. I found that if you don't have a clear vision on who you want to be and what you want it to look like, that everything else becomes really, really hard. You must define a clear vision for what your family life is going to look like, what you want your role as a father and a husband to look like, and also what you want your business to look like and your entire situation, your entire life to look like. Some of us have what I'll call generational curses, right? Things that have been challenging generation over generation, right? Establishing and defining a clear vision and thinking about that is actually one of the ways to break that. Because if you don't define that, then you'll just do whatever it was your dad did, or if you had a dad in your life, or the males in your life, or the family that you have always does, right? You don't want to do what you've always done. You want to figure out what it is that you're supposed to be doing, make it really, really clear. And then you have to think of who the person that you need to be is, right? And so your identity is important here, like defining who you need to be in order to create this life, in order to bring this life to be. What are the leadership qualities? How will you deal with certain situations? Like, how are you going to balance these things, right? What's most important to you? And how do you align that with your duties? That's one of the key, most important things that I found. The second thing is role models. And so surrounding yourself with mentors and role models that model the excellence that you want to create in some area of your life. This is key for basically anything that you do, but certainly in balancing family and business leadership. Having a role model is critical. And so for me, mentors were really important. Wise, truly, for me, godly mentors that were actually excellent in the business world and in the relationship world, right? It's pretty easy to find one or the other. It's a lot harder to find one that's both. So that is really, really important. You surround yourself with those people, you learn from those people, and they help keep you on the right path, right? They help keep you in balance. So that's the second one, role models. Third one is putting work and family in line. And so, like I said earlier, like they seem to be in tension, right? They seem to oppose each other because both things are important and both things are vying for your time, which is limited. right? And your attention, which is limited. But the truth is that you can't allow them to be at odds. You have to figure out a way to reframe it so that they're both in line. And that is the key. Reframing the balance to be, they're both pulling in the same direction. Here's why they are pulling in the same direction. Your duty as the leader of your family, as the father of your kids, as the husband to your wife, your duty as the man of the house is to provide, right? That is, I believe, part of what a man should do. Some may disagree with that, but that's what I believe is part of what a man should do. It's the masculine part of being a man is working hard, producing something that is part of what gives energy and fulfillment to a man. And providing for your family is an important way for you to be present for them, right? And so it's not bad to work hard. Even if you were independently wealthy, modeling hard work is important for your kids and for your family. It's both provision and modeling. So they actually work both in line. So for me, once I put those in line, because I would talk to people who would really struggle with this, and they would feel bad for having to go on a business trip or having to work a little later or do something like that. They would feel bad and feel like they're leaving their wife at home with the kids and those kind of things. And I get that. But the truth is, if you're not taking it lightly and being irresponsible, and you need to work hard in order to pay the bills and to actually build something for your family and provide, like, that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. Hard work is not a bad thing. On the flip side, like, I even know people who live in big cities. Like, I know a lot of people that live in New York City that in order to have a great life for their family, they actually have to move 2 hours outside of where they go to work. Every day they travel 4 hours, right, to the office and back. Sometimes it may mean you don't see your family at all. You don't see your kids at all, except for on the weekends, which is horrible. And if that is your case, that's fine. That might be a season, but it can't be forever. And I would suggest that you work to align things so that that is not the case, so that you don't have to make those types of sacrifices. But hard work, the point here is hard work is good for your family. And so they're not in opposition. They're actually in line, but you must be aware of that. So that was the third thing that I've learned. The fourth, understanding that you need to be present. So just like hard work is important, you have to understand that the moments with your kids and the things that you're supposed to do as a father are important. Those things you cannot get back. And we hear that as cliche all the time. People used to tell me all the time, well, it's going to go so fast. It does go so fast, right? So if you're thinking about having a family, it's really important to know that it does go really fast, right? You cannot get that time back. I've actually talked to a few people, and a few really high performing people. They were talking to me and they said, my biggest regret was that I didn't have a balance at all. So I was just all into my work and I missed my kids' lives. I could have worked that hard anytime, and I can't, but I couldn't be with my kids at any time, right? So understanding that you need to be present to actually lead them is important. And those are things that you can't get back. You can always make a little more money pretty much anytime. And if you listen to my other videos, like, it's pretty much infinite. Aside from the times where you need to sacrifice some family time in order to provide healthily for them, right? Aside from those times, you can make extra money all the time, but your family, you can't get back. You cannot get back time. That is irreplaceable. That's the other thing that I learned, is understanding the need to actually be present as well. The fifth thing is become very aware of your return on time. And I've done an entire episode about return on time, right? And even this concept of being a time multiplier. It's really fascinating. Once you have family commitments and relational commitments, and you also have these business ambitions and business commitments, you realize that your time is very limited. So the time that you can invest into various things, and by the way, you want to invest more of your time, ideally, into your family and your kids and the things that you can't get back, right? And so that means the time that you spend must be spent in a high leveraged way. Your time is limited, and it's even more limited now. So like for me, the hours that I have to work during the day are very small, right? And I make them small because my goal is to maximize my return on time and not just waste time so that then I don't have it with my family. That doesn't make any sense, right? And so realizing that you must be aware of your return on your time investment. Look at your time for your week as if it were your bank account, like your seed investment for your thing, right? And invest the hours wisely. Be aware that your competitors might have more time. This restriction is a good thing. It helps you just become better at producing more value for less time. So it's actually a benefit. And if you don't have a family yet, then I would suggest this. If you need to invest more time, do it now. I saw something from Mr. Beast recently, and he was saying that his philosophy on work is he just works 24/7, like literally sleeps as little as possible, 24/7, just like all out, completely unbalanced until he burns out. It typically happens around day 10 or something like that. He ends up burning out, and then he has to sleep for like 3 days, and then he does it all again. I don't know that that is the wisest way to do things. Clearly, that wouldn't work for most people and probably wouldn't be the smartest thing. So start putting restrictions on yourself early now so that you actually have them in place later and you have high impact for your time. Or the sixth thing is realize that there are seasons of imbalance. This is something that was transformational for me when I realized it. There are going to be times where you need to be unbalanced, right? There are times when balance is not healthy, when there's something super important that has to be done, like let's say you can't make rent or you lost a job or whatever, right? Or even on the other side, let's say your family needs support, your kids, there are certain parts of your kid's life that are really, really important that you're at things and you're present and you're leading them, right? And you can't just delegate that. So there are seasons of imbalance. And that was something to be aware of. Like, it's not just this perfect balance all the time. There are seasons of imbalance. But the important thing is to realize that they are temporary seasons of imbalance. You can't just continue that way, but you must come back to the center. You must be aware of it. And so I have a mentor he's a good friend of mine, a mentor who's actually an NFL coach. And so he talks to me about all the acronyms that they use in the NFL. And one of them is an acronym called WIN, which is WIN, which is the acronym What's Important Now. And so it's the idea that you have to assess the situation and figure out what exactly is important right now for me to be doing. How should I be spending my time? What's the situation that is at hand, and what is actually important right now? And then that influences what the actions that you take. It's super simple, but it's the idea of seasons of imbalance. Realizing, okay, I'm in this particular situation. What's important right now? The seventh thing is pursuing wisdom. And this is the last thing that I have on my list. Pursuing wisdom is something that I don't know that is very common, but it's so valuable. When I first started to have my family, and then I remember when I actually began hiring employees, I realized that I was not really a good leader for them. Like, I just didn't feel like I was a good leader. I didn't have the qualities of a good leader. I didn't feel like I had the wisdom of a leader. And so I had that awareness. And so I remember intentionally, the Bible says, he who lacks wisdom, ask God and he will give it to him freely. And so I remember intentionally going and praying for wisdom and seeking wisdom. And that's when I started seeking mentors, and I started seeking wise peers, and I started reading more, and I started praying more, and I started doing all these things to try and gain wisdom so that I could lead my family and my business successfully. Now, I don't know that I'm the wisest person in the world by any stretch right now, but I'm certainly wiser than I was. And the truth is I remember periods of time where I gained a little tidbit of wisdom, and I applied that, and I gained another one, and I applied that, and I gained another one, and I applied that. And that has helped me so much, because the wisdom is what allows you to judge the times when you should be balanced or imbalanced. It's what allows you to judge the seasons. It's what allows you to pick the right mentors. It's what allows you to actually take what you've learned and teach it to your kids, which is super important, and actually be a good leader of your ambitions and your business and your family and your relationships. At the end of the day, I truly believe that it is our duty. Like, I believe you were put on this earth to live your life to the maximum. And I don't mean that in the sense of like, go just have fun and ride roller coasters and stuff like that. I mean, you were given certain gifts and you have a certain mission, and you were given certain people that you're supposed to lead, or both maybe in business, maybe in your family. And I think you need to take that really, really seriously. And I don't think you can sacrifice either one. Like, I think it's important that if you have a dream inside of you and a mission that you believe you're supposed to be running after, that you fulfill that you run after it. Subduing that and sacrificing it and pushing it down is not good for anyone to do. I believe that it's important for you to live that out. I believe that that's godly. And I believe that that's also how you find fulfillment. If you're going to live all these out to their fullest, then you must have wisdom in order to understand where to create the imbalances and the balances, like what the seasons are, who to choose as your friends and your mentors. I think that this balance is possible. I've tasted it, it's possible, and I've even found some success in it. And you see that as you look for it, you will see that. It may not be as common as it should be. Maybe that's because there's not enough pursuit of wisdom and some of these other qualities. Or maybe there's not the desire for an intention around creating a balance and truly stewarding all of those resources that you have, including your family, in a really, really great way. And so I hope this helps you live out a high performance and more successful life. For more tips like this from me, or to work with me, you can visit kennethott.com or kenott.com. That's KENOTT.com. Thanks, and until next time, never stop growing.